You need a heart, but you'll switch. Play your cards that you deal with. I'm a terror, I flip for my subs, so show me love when we set like Elledge. I say yo! This is Cam and this is the Yugi-Flow, and in today's video, I'm talking to my returning players. So sometimes I talk to people about Yu-Gi-Oh related things, and it's almost like I'm speaking a different language. Like they're lost because I'm using terms that they just don't know. Terms I didn't know, terms I had to learn. So I'm here today to try to teach you guys some of those terms so you don't feel as lost as I felt when I was in that situation. So term number one, and you hear this a lot, meta and rogue. This isn't a Yu-Gi-Oh specific term, and a lot of these terms aren't, but they're used a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh. So meta, the easiest way to think of it is what's popular, what's main, the best decks, the decks that are typically ran. Rogue is the decks that are a little more spicy. Not as many people run them. A lot of times they take a little bit more maneuvering. A lot of times these rankings are based off of things like the tier list. It's based off of things like what decks topped at tournaments, what decks got new support, what decks support has been overran by better cards. A lot of things can lead to this, but meta and rogue, definitely terms you're going to hear all the time. You should get comfortable with them. Number two. So if you do decide to go to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, you will hear someone say, oh, I was X1 or X2 or whatever. That literally means how many losses did you take? That took me so long to understand. It's like, what do you mean you were X1? Like, what is that? I was lost. Simply, you took a loss. You're X1. You took 2 losses. You're X2. Number three, staples. The term staples just means that these cards are in a lot of decks. They're must-have cards in your decks. They are called staple cards. For instance, Miscellaneousaurus is a staple card in dinosaur decks. If you are running dinosaurs, you should have Misk in your deck. If you are running Tri-Brigade, you should have Revolt in your deck as a staple card. You should keep Ash Blossom or Bell, or a lot of those hand traps are staples. You should have some combination of those in your deck, if your deck can play them. Number four, you might hear someone say, oh, this is a back row deck, or protect your back row. All that literally means is the cards in your spell and trap zone. They're called back row. They are the row on the back of your mat. Simple enough. Number six, a brick or garnet. See, this is, I'm kind of confused on. I think a lot of people are confused on it. Here's my understanding. A brick is cards that you have to run to get something going. You don't technically want those cards in your deck. You just need them there for whatever reason. For instance, if you're playing Dark Dragoon, you need the Red Eyes Fusion, the Dark Magician, and Red Eyes Black Dragon in your deck. You do not want to see any of those 3. You just need those 3 in order to play Dragoon. To my understanding, a garnet is a card that you necessarily don't want to see, but you need to see at some point. It's a part of your combo. For instance, in Dinos, we run Giant Rex. A lot of Dino players aren't going to agree with me here. I get that, but that's not important. That's not what this is about. For me, Giant Rex would be a garnet. I don't want it in my hand, but I need it to complete my combo. It will hit the field at some point in time during my combo. But the point is, if someone said, my hand has bricks, it's just saying that your hand has a bunch of cards you don't want in there. If someone says these are garnets, it's just, I didn't want to see these cards right now. That's simple. 7 is when someone says, I run this package. For instance, the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon package. The Red Eyes Dark Dragoon package is filled with the Red Eyes Fusion, Dark Magician, Red Eyes Black Dragon. That is the package you run. You have to run those 3 for Dark Magician. Now, let's say someone says they run the Gamma package. It's also pretty popular. That means you run 3 side frame Gammas and you run the driver. A lot of time the packages do include bricks, but it's just cards you have to run to get the playoff or whatever you need from it. 8, someone say, did you top deck that? And you're like, what are you talking about? That just means, did you draw it? Right? Like, it's turn 2, then it's your turn again to draw. And then you play the card that wins you the game. When they ask you, did you top deck that? They're literally saying, did the card you just played come from the top of your deck? Did you just draw it? Or you might hear the phrase hard draw, right? That means you drew it on your draw phase. You ended up getting the card to win. Simple enough. 9. So a lot of simulators have nicknames, usually acronyms. For instance, DB. You might hear someone say, oh, did you play test on DB? And you're like, play test on DB? What are you talking about? Dueling Book. It's probably the most popular simulator that I've came across. And, you know, you might get Yugioh Pro or any of the other Yugioh ones. I don't know all their names because I have a Mac and they won't let me run it. But point being, it's good to know the simulator names, DB, Dueling Book. That's it. Finally, you might hear someone talk about tiers. This is tier 1, this is tier 2, 1.5, or tier 0. All this means is this is an arbitrary ranking system that people have a general understanding of. For instance, everyone is agreeing that Drytron is in tier 1 and Tri-Brigade is in tier 1. Everyone is not in agreement of where a deck like, let's say, Altergeist goes. You hit, some people say it's tier 1, some people say tier 2, some people are still calling it Rogue. It's arbitrary, but it's just a good understanding that we all have about how good or bad a deck is. And you might hear someone say, this is tier 0. Tier 0 means this is the best deck, hands down. No deck can beat this deck if it starts off with what it needs. It's only been a very small amount of actual tier 0 decks, but it's used loosely when we're talking about a deck that we feel is just overpowered. And that's it. That is 10 Yugioh phrases that you're going to hear, you should familiarize yourself with, and at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun, the rest of these things will come to you. Like and subscribe.
Best. I don't fail shit, I don't rest. Or scoop a brick, I won't let you take a win, that's 2-0. Move slow when I combo, that's Dragon Link. Pass turn, no need to think. The world I'm in is virtual, where the sky's Ojama pink.